Technology is ever evolving in motorsport, and Ford this year became the first South African manufacturer to go the diesel route in the ABSA Championship.
It's been exciting. You know, it's been difficult. I make no bones about it. It's been a very steep learning curve, but we've learned a lot. And when I look back and I reflect on it, it's actually been quite exciting. We've learned so much. And it's always great and life to learn all the time, and to make steps and go forward is exciting and nice. So although it's been daunting, it's been exciting, and we've come a hell of a long way. So,
and the prospects for next year must be very exciting.
I think that's the most exciting. I'd almost say I'd like to skip this race and start stripping the cars so that we can get ready for next year, because we've got some big developments which we want to do during the off-season, complete rebuilds of the cars. We're still staying with the same concept and everything, but we've got a lot of upgrades, things that we've learned through the year and just haven't had enough time to do and to implement. We'll now have a 5-month layoff and plenty of time to do what we want to do, to get our temperatures down, to get our weight distribution down, to do all sorts of things like that. So we're very excited about next year, and actually I can't wait for this race to finish so we can get cracking.
Round 3 of the ABSA Offroad Championship is traditionally based in the sugarcane farming area of Eston, with race headquarters in the Eston Farmers Club. The Nissan Sugarbelt 400 is also one of the toughest events of the year, but provided for a change with Anthony Taylor and Robin Houghton setting the pace in the Castrol Toyota Hilux. The Century Racing entries of Mark Corbett and Rudy Balzar and Colin Matthews with Alan Smith led the way in the special vehicle category, with the Motorrad Revo 1 4x4 of Evan Hutchinson and Achim Bergman doing the chasing.
The Donaldson Nissan Charge was led by Hannes Grobler and Johan Moore, with the RFS Toyota crew of Chris Visser and Jaapie Badenhorst again going along steadily.
There were high hopes for local hero Neil Woolridge and Kenny Scholthammer in the diesel Ford Ranger TDCi, and Ivan Tollefson and Quinn Evans were looking strong too. A disastrous Friday prologue saw championship leaders Duncan Vos and Ralph Pitchford start 55th on the road, and among the special vehicles, Herman and Wichard Silvalt were soon into their stride. Matters were to go from bad to worse for Mike Whitehouse and Matthew Carlson, with Nick and Ryan Harper as steady as ever in the Atlas Copco Bat, while George and Sharon Barkhuizen made an encouraging start in the AIM Toyota Hilux.
Off-road racing sometimes turns into a contact sport, and a little nudge from Clint Gibson and Gary Campbell saw Class P leaders Johan and Etienne Besaidnout move smartly out the way. Next up for Gibson and Campbell, as well as the RFS Toyota Hilux of Christian de Ploy and Henk Janssen van Vuren, were Atang Makgegene and Victor Nsheke.
Overtaking in the dust is often risky business, but Duncan Vos and Ralph Pitchford were on a charge through the field.
When the Castrol Toyota Hilux of Anthony Taylor and Robin Houghton fell by the wayside, Hannes Grobler and Jean Moore took over the lead, followed by Donaldson Nissan Navara teammates Ivar Tollefson and Quinn Evans. Vos and Pitchford recovered superbly to take third place ahead of Hein Lateghan and Chris Birkin in their Castrol Toyota and the RFS Toyota of Chris Visser and Jaapie Badenhorst.
There were valuable points for privateers Kobus van Tonde and Rian Guapa in the Unifreight Ford Ranger, the father and son pair of Hicho and Jaap de Bruin in the Micron Excel Toyota Hilux, and a steady run from Terence Marsh and Peter Groenewald in the Regent Racing Nissan Navara.
Cliff and Louis Weichelt scored their third Class D victory on the trot, with Heini Stumpfer and Hendrik van der Linde the only other finishers in the Micron XL Toyota Hilux.
Class E saw Pikkie Labuschagne and Rikus Erasmus score a maiden national win in the 4x4 Mega World Toyota Hilux, with teammates Dion Venter and Ian Palmer finishing second to hold on to the championship lead. Reigning champions Jannie Visser and Joks Leroux fought hard for third place, and circuit star Leroy Poulter and Rob Howie scored their first points in the Ferodo Nissan Hardbody.
For the ever-smiling and popular Hannes Grobler, in his last season as a Nissan driver, it was a sweet victory.
It was 3 in a row for Evan Hutchison and Achim Bergman, with the Motorrad Revo 1 4x4 pair having plenty of time in hand over Herman and Wichard Silvalt in the Silvalt Racing Zarko. It was their best performance so far, with the Palabora pair leading home the steady Nick and Ryan Harper in the Atlas Copco Bat. Fourth were local crew Clint Gibson and Gary Campbell, with veterans Nardus Alberts and Jeff Minute fifth in their Rapsa Bat.
SA champions Cully and Quinton Sulwald picked up valuable points in 6th place, as did Mike Whitehouse and Matthew Carlson in the Regent Racing Bat, who overcame a litany of problems to finish 7th.
Class B honours went to champions Johan and Etienne Besaidnout, who increased their lead in the championship. The again impressive Johan van Staden and James Rousseau were second in the KAC bat, and after battling overheating problems in the sweltering heat, KZN crew Don Thompson and Don Blakey finished third.
A steady drive from Derek du Toit and Ian Pienaar in the Orange Tree bat saw them close the gap on early season championship leaders Bez and Dion Besaidnout, with a lot of friendly rivalry developing between the two Cape Town crews. For the Makanete brothers, the learning curve continued, with perseverance becoming a watchword for them.
It was 3 out of 3 for Hutchison and Bergman, and a tight hold on the Special Vehicle Championship lead.
For nearly 30 years, the ABSA Offroad Championship has paid an annual visit to Botswana for the Toyota 1000 Desert Race, which is unique in that it's the only marathon event on the calendar. The race is also hugely popular with the locals and is the biggest sporting event of the year in Botswana. The Century Racing bat of Colin Matthews and Alan Smith led the way the field, with Chris Visser and Jaapie Badenhorst and Hannes Grobler and John Moore at the front of the production car brigade. Matthews and Smith were early casualties, and the early pace setters in the special vehicle category were Evan Hutchinson and Achim Bergman. Former winners Shamir Variawa and Siegfried Rousseau and Herman and Wichald Zulwald.
Also in the picture were reigning champions Kali and Quinton Solvalt and the Tyrak Jimco of Nahim Mosaji and Mohammed Moltzen.
On the production car front, there was drama with Hein Lateghan and Chris Birkin into an early lead in the Castrol Toyota Hilux. They were being chased by Duncan Voss and Rolf Pitchford, who started 28th on the road, and Jimmy Zahus and Stefan Kutsia in the Mountain Dew Porter. Next up, on a wetter than expected desert race, were Mark Corbett and Rudy Balzar in the Century Racing CR2, and Nick and Ryan Harper going well in the Atlas Copco bat. Also in a charge were Anthony Taylor and Robin Houghton, who lost 40 minutes stuck in a mud hole, while the Donaldson Nissans of Ivar Tollefson and Quinn Evans and Hannes Grobler and John Moore hit the same rock, and Grobler, a hero in Botswana, was forced to retire.
When the Lateghan Birkin Toyota retired, an unbelievable drive had taken championship leaders Duncan Voss and Ralph Pitchford into the lead. The Donaldson Nissan Navara crew were ahead of Chris Visser and Jaapie Badenhorst in a much modified RFS Toyota Hilux, and young Christian de Plooy and Henk Janssen van Vieren, who were having a great drive in the second RFS Toyota Hilux.
The impressive Anthony Taylor and Robin Houghton had worked their way into fourth, with the race extracting a high rate of attrition. The Atlas Copco Toyota was also slightly modified. Tollefsons and Evans were still running after bastardizing the Grobler car, and the former cricket pro Terence Marsh and Peter Groenewald were also soldiering along in the Regent Racing Nissan Navara.
In Class D, championship leaders Cliff and Louis Weichelt failed to make it to the start, and the high rate of attrition was wreaking havoc. A string of Class E cars led by Pikkie Labaskachny and Rikus Erasmus sailed past Thomas Rundle and Stavros Giannakis, who were well and truly bogged down in the turbo diesel Ford Ranger TDCi. The Venter Palmer Toyota, Class D leaders Van Breda and de Toy, reigning Class E champions Visser and Leroux, and Heini Strumpfer with Hendrik van der Linde and the Micron Toyota all moved ahead of the stricken Ford.
At the overnight halt, Voss and Pitchford led by 33 minutes after an incredible day.
It was much closer in the special vehicle category, where Evan Hutchison and Achim Bergman had been in the lead for most of the day in the Motorrad Riva 1 4x4. Finding the right track through the bushes and thorn trees severely taxed the skills of co-drivers, with cars taking an absolute hammering.
The first four cars were separated by just over 2 minutes, with Jimmy Zahus and Stefan Kutsia the surprise package in the Mountain Dew Porter. They were narrowly ahead of Shamir Variawa and Siegfried Rousseau, who were sponsored by Total Botswana, and former winners Kali and Quinton Solwald, who were having their best outing of the season in the Solwald Racing bat. Nick and Ryan Harper were being hampered by a clutch problem in the Atlas Copco bat, while Mike Whitehouse and Matthew Carlson were having another steady day in the Regent Racing bat.
There was also a high rate of attrition in Class B, where David and Gary White came up with their best performance of the season, while Ernest Corbett and Warwick Goosen provided a huge crowd at a river crossing with a little entertainment. Bez and Dion Besaidnout were among the Class B retirements, with Derek du Toit and Ian Pienaar leading the field in the Orange Tree bat. Behind them, Class B championship leaders Johan and Etienne Besaidnout were also heading for retirement.
At the overnight halt, a tense situation with 2 minutes between the first 4 cars.
Another tough day lay in wait for the overnight survivors, with Ivar Tollefson in a military mood and Duncan Foss and Ralph Pitchford in total control of the race, with the Donaldson-Nissen pair enjoying an overnight lead of 33 minutes. It didn't take long for Anthony Taylor and Robin Houghton to take the Castrol Toyota Hilux into second place, with Christian de Plooy and Henk Janssen van Vieren holding on to a superb third for their best ever finish in the RFS Toyota. The Tollefson and Evans Nissen was to be hauled in by both Gary Berthold and Dani Stassen in the Atlas Copco Toyota, and Chris Visser and Jaapie Badenhorst, who were fifth despite a day one coming together with a tree. Hichu and Jaap de Bruin in Micro and Excel Toyota just failed to catch the Tollefson Evans Nissen, while a brave effort from Terence Marsh and Peter Groenewald saw them see out the distance in the Regent Racing Nissan Navara.
Johan and Van der Horn were the only Class D finishers in the Malalan Toyota Land Cruiser, and it's amazing what people will do to appear on television.
A great result took Class E winners Pakila Beskachny and Rikus Erasmus into 6th overall, with the 4x4 Megaworld Toyota pair leading home champions Jannie Visser and Joks Leroux in the RFS Toyota Hilux.
Duncan Foss and Ralph Pitchford duly put the finishing touches to a commanding performance. It was a third win in 4 starts for the Donaldson-Nissen crew and cemented their hold on the Production Car Championship.
The Toyota Desert Race never fails to produce late drama and again didn't disappoint. The total porter pair of Shamir Variawa and Siegfried Rousseau made it 2 in a row when a puncture 150 k's into the loop scuppered championship leaders Evan Hutchison and Jim Bergman. The solid Nick and Ryan Harper took third in the Atlas Copco bat, with valuable points for Mike Whitehouse and Matthew Carlson in 4th place in the Regent Racing bat. Local hero Atang Makaghenene and Phil Archinal held on for 5th place. There were some big names among the retirements, and Naim Musaji and Mohammed Molson maintained their 100% finish record for the 09 season.
Brothers David and Gary White rekindled their title hopes with a commanding win in Class B in the Ruhr Combat, and Derek du Toit and Ian Pienaar took a maiden Class B victory in the Orange Tree bat.